This is David D'Angelo, and welcome to another issue of my monthly interview series. This month I'm really excited because I'm interviewing a friend, David X, who was introduced to me by my friend Clifford from Cliff's List. David X is unusual in that he not only is very good with women, getting more dates, and just being successful in general, but he also teaches and does consulting himself. He joined us at our seminar in New York a few months back, and he was received very well. He had some really interesting insights, and one of the things I really respect about him is that he's figured a lot of things out for himself. Instead of looking to other people, copying other people, and doing what other people are doing, he's gone out and done the research himself, tried things himself, and figured out what works. So I'd like to welcome you, David.
Thank you.
And I guess we'll just jump right in. To start with, can you just tell me what you think are the main issues that most guys run into that are trying to get more dates and just be more successful with women in general?
Probably the main issue is a type of fear. I think they're afraid of what the women are thinking and what the women are supposedly thinking that they're thinking. It's like a circle. They're always worried of what they're going to be, perceived to be thinking, but it's not like that.
And so, what do you do to, or what do you recommend to guys to get over that fear?
Well, my basic thing comes off as the first time everybody hears it, they go, "Yeah, it's so easy. Yeah, he doesn't know what he's talking about." But I think it's just basically don't listen to them, and I don't mean this derogatorily.
Sure.
I don't mean you have to be disrespectful. I mean that you're on a mission. Whether you're on a mission or doing a job, you're given a job to do. You have to figure out how to do it the best way possible. You can't think of what everybody's thinking around you while you're trying to do your job. So if your job is now picking up a woman, and to achieve, what do you want? Depends what you want. You want her to spend time with you. You want to sleep with her. You want it, whatever you want to do with her. Whatever you decide, that's your mission. You've got to follow through. You've got to plan the mission, but you don't need her consulting.
Interesting. So do you find that most guys normally don't know what they really want?
There's a big problem. They're going out either to impress their friends, either to say they did something that they couldn't, and then when they meet the women, they fall apart. They fail because they fall apart. They fall apart by the stress that they're giving themselves. I don't know if I could handle the stress that they give themselves. I go out with a more relaxed attitude. I take it as it comes. It's like if a guy says to you he's going to throw a baseball at your head, you get nervous. But if you're looking at the guy and then you see it lift the ball and wing it at you, you duck. But they're thinking about, should I duck or not, before the guy even threw the ball. Let it come natural.
Yeah, it's interesting when you mention that, because it made me think that most of the guys that I talk to, that I deal with, they don't actually have an objective in particular. They just want to be more successful. They don't have anything specific. They don't have an outcome in mind.
Right.
And
they want to be more successful at what? At what? Picking up. What is picking up women? I think you have to define the part of what is picking up women. What do you want? What do you? It's like the fellow that gets a car and now he works in his home and and in the basement of his home is a shopping plaza, and he's got a grocery store there. And I got a car. What do I do with it now? It's the same thing. I want to pick up. Well, for what? You have to do something. What do you want with this woman? You want a companion? You want a buddy? You want a friend? Whatever it is. When two guys meet each other, I'll give you an example. We met in New York, and there is a chemistry just with two men meeting each other. I liked you. So it was easy to become friendly with you. I never thought of what you're thinking about, or I don't think you thought about what I'm thinking about when we met. We just met and started talking, and we decided we liked each other. It's very simple. Why could men do it with men naturally? When it comes to a woman, all of a sudden they go gaga.
That's really interesting. When I think about what you're saying here, I reflect back to my own thoughts about these kind of things, and I realize that the same kind of thing. A lot of guys are literally trying to her head, please anticipate what she's going to want and follow that lead without even knowing what it is.
100%. Then that's, and you know, people meet me and they see my approach to women. They think, oh yeah, he's really lucky. He's a really outgoing guy. But I'll tell you a secret that you're going to be the first guy to know this out of all the people I interviewed, because they never asked me this question. All the people that spoke to me. I was a very shy kid growing up.
Interesting.
But my shyness I wasn't any more shy with a man than I was with a woman. So it didn't affect me. When I saw what I wanted, I went after it. I might have not liked to go after women in crowds originally. I didn't like to go after, like, if a woman was alone, I'd go after her. But if she was with another girlfriend or 3 other friends, or they're sitting in a group, I was like petrified to go near them. And then I said to myself, I've got to conquer what I'm afraid of first. So then everything else will come natural. So I took my biggest fear, and that's what I tell a lot of the guys that come to see me. What's your biggest fear? Let's conquer that, and the rest is going to come so easily. It's really a simple routine.
So what do you do to help them
fear?
What do you help them to do to overcome their fear? What do you recommend to do that?
Well, I think what it is they've never, and this is basically what I do, they've never really spoken to their father or their mother about meeting another person of the opposite sex and how they should behave. They have a conception of, like, a mother will tell, for example, her son, be good to these girls that you go out with. And a father will tell to a daughter, don't listen to what this prick is going to tell you. He's just going to try to get you in bed. So the girls have a better attitude out there. The mother's not going to tell her son, most women are going to be viciously going after you for their own means, and they'll probably stab their own friends if they like a guy more than... They're not going to tell that to a man.
Right.
And they're not going to tell a man, you're just as good as this woman. They're going to tell you're going to hear stories of growing up, and that sticks in your mind. Men are made from puppy dogs' tails, rattlesnakes. It's all bad stuff.
Right.
But women are sugar and spice and everything nice. I mean, it's just like if a guy plays with dolls, he's considered not very masculine, and if a woman plays with cars, she's not very feminine. But it doesn't really work that way.
So what else do you do to help guys overcome their fears? And what do you recommend that they talk to their parents about?
Well, I don't recommend they talk to their parents at the level that once they're coming to me or coming to you, they're already past the part that they can talk to their parents.
I see.
Because I think actually it'll be at that age, it'll be harder to talk to their parents.
Oh, in other words, okay, I understand. So
what I'm saying this is how they've gotten that way. I mean, it's like, it's like I'll tell you a little funny story. One day I call up my dad and I go, I said, I have to really be pissed off at you. He goes, why? He says, because you didn't rape me or molest me, and I can't go on Oprah with a story about my dad, what he did to me. He started laughing. It's like you got to get over your problems of your upbringing. If you look around, everybody's got similar stories. You have to be a man. That's what being a man is, to overcome those problems, to get a grip of yourself, and to admit that you've got those problems. Most of these guys, they come to these groups and they want to vent. I think what I like to do is let them vent out the stories of their disasters and analyze them with them, because that's what they're really afraid of. Tell me the thing that scared you the worst out of going out with a woman. Instead, they're anticipating is what she's going to say, what she's going to do. What are you afraid of? If everybody was that kind of fear, there'd be no firemen, there'd be no policemen, there'd be no rescue workers. If you're already going through the disasters of your life, and the same thing, you have to realize men and women is like any other commodity. It's a law of supply and demand. The wonderful thing is there's a shorter supply of men, there's a bigger demand. But no, they've got it like
Got a
no,
mega
they
woman.
got it all wrong. They
No.
think they're. One time I had a woman say, "Well, I'm going to give you something." I go, "What do you think you're giving me?" Well, what I'm doing is worthless. I said, "If you think you're giving me something, then go get a cucumber and leave me alone."
Yeah. Was there anyone in when you were younger there was a particular influence on you in this area, that had some unique impact on you?
Well, there was so many. I have to tell you, I sort of, that's why I've become more experienced, because the women have helped me through it. I wouldn't listen to the nonsense, and by not listening to the nonsense, they get closer to you. It's like, I think the nonsense they tell you is your first test. If you listen to it and it affects you, they know they got rid of you fast.
What is some of the typical nonsense that women tell men?
Well, I'll give you the nonsense that I've typically found.
Okay.
I went out with a woman one time. I get to the door, and she was more nervous than me. Was always a parent, and she had nothing to say to me except she said to me, "If you intend on kissing me goodnight, you have to shave your mustache." So, I don't know, a lot of guys would start worrying about that. So I answered her back, "Don't worry about it. I'll guarantee I won't give you a kiss goodnight." And then she worried all night if I wanted to kiss her goodnight. And at the end of the evening, she wanted me to kiss her. And I said, "No, you worried about that? Keep it."
Interesting.
They don't, if they think they're giving you a gift, don't take it. Because then you're going to owe them.
If she thinks she's giving you a gift, don't take it, because then you're going to owe her something.
Right. And if a woman says to me, "Well, look what I'm giving you," I tell them right away. I don't beat around the bush. I tell them right away, it ain't a gift. And who says I want it? I put them on the defensive.
Mm-hmm. Whereas most guys would immediately maneuver and try to figure out a way to get that from her or convince her that she should give it to them.
See, exactly. And I'm not so interested in seduction. You see, the word seduction doesn't rest easy on my soul. Let's put it that way. I don't want to seduce them.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make love to them. I want to have them. I want them to be mine. My woman. I want to treat her like my woman. I want to treat her right. I want to treat her well. I don't want to have to seduce her. I don't want to trick her. To me, seduction is like tricking her into something. I had one fella ask me, he says, "I can get a lot of women, but I can't get a second date out of them." I said, "Well, you're going to get a lot of one-night stands because there are a lot of horny women out there, and a lot of guys don't believe that either." I said, "The idea is to get them to come back, to get them to chase after you."
Yes, seduction implies that she has something you need, and you need to go do things proactively to maneuver around, trick, and get her to give it to you. It's in my opinion, it's kind of more of a feminine approach to things.
I have to tell you something. I'm listening to you say that, and you say it so well, and that's why I think you absolutely are a fabulous teacher, because you do understand that. And teaching this is like, if you could teach that, you've got it all taken care of. And what we have to do is make these fellas aware of what they have to learn. I don't want them to learn a series of skits or actions or plans. I don't want them to have to write crib notes down. If they can speak their mind, they're ahead of the game.
Yeah, one of the things I notice is that, thinking back on my own experiences and a lot of other guys, when they're just in the presence of a woman, they're sitting down over a cup of coffee, if they're attracted to the woman, in their mind, they're trying to come up with something impressive to say, and they're trying to sugarcoat everything and maneuver it so that the woman will like it, whereas what you're saying is just speak your mind.
I just listened to what you said, and just imagine for a second, you're a woman, you're sitting down, and and somebody's attracted to you, and they look at you and they go, exactly what you just said. I don't want to sugarcoat it. I want to tell you why I'm attracted to you. And that I'm just trying to think of ways to impress. What you just said, to repeat that to a woman, you'd find out that that woman would be turned on to you because the honesty would get to her. Now that's I'm not saying you've got your own routine. What you just said to me would be perfect, I feel, to impress a woman.
Because it's so honest. It's the real deal.
It's the real deal.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, the real deal is not really honest because they don't believe you. But they're so impressed and so bewildered because nobody's going to come up honestly to them. But it's nice because you've got the control. When you've got the honesty, you know what you're going to say next. They don't.
Yeah, one of the things you were mentioning earlier is if, a woman says something like, if you want to kiss goodnight, you have to shave your mustache. These are, the common term kind of for this is a woman testing you or pushing you.
100%.
Figuring out, where the boundaries are. What's your thinking about that and that whole topic, and how do you deal with it?
You see, I'll tell you, there's only one way that I like to deal with it, and that's a very simple way, and it's a way you deal with children. You ignore it. It's like another incident came to my mind as you were talking. I took another woman out for dinner one time, and she ordered food, and she didn't even eat hardly any of it. And she said to me, all night long was bothering her, and I didn't comment that she didn't eat any of her food. And then she commented the next time she called me the next day, says, you know what I liked about you? She says, I didn't eat my supper. I ate supper before you picked me up just so I could order some food and see how you react to me not eating it all. At all. So I said, I resigned myself to buying you a meal. You could have taken it and thrown it at the lady in the next table. I don't care what you did with it. It's your problem. You have to learn how to deal with that.
Interesting.
And most guys would have called their buddy, hey, I took this bitch out for dinner, or I took this lady out for dinner, I took this girl out for dinner, I took this effing bitch out for dinner, whatever. She ordered an expensive meal and didn't eat a bite. It's her loss. I was resigned to paying for it before I asked her out. So she's testing me. If it bothered you, then she won. Then she's got control. Didn't bother me.
That's very interesting because it brings to mind a couple of things. One of them is that a lot of guys say to me, how many times should you call a woman before you go out with her? And I recently answered that question. I said, there was one time I met a woman who, every time I called her, she was busy. But I could tell that she was legitimately busy because, I could read that she was happy to hear from me, but she was like out of town or leaving town the next day. She had a travel schedule. But I kept calling her every week or two for a couple of months just to touch base, and she was always busy. And finally, when we did decide to get together, she made a comment to me, and she said it was very impressive to her. It really amazed her that the fact that she was always busy didn't bother me, and it just didn't matter to me. Whereas most guys would either give up or they would be pushy. Somehow it would get to them. And I've noticed that in a lot of subtle little ways, women are always paying attention to this to see whether or not they can destabilize you. See whether they can
100%
emotionally get to you in some way.
I had that. I want to tell you, I had similar cases like that. I was interested in a woman. Every time I called, she was legitimately busy. And I remember not that long ago, about say 10 years ago, Clifford said to me, I'm calling this girl and she's always busy, but she's legitimately busy, like you said. And I had the same thing happen to me. And then it was like I kept persistently calling her because I am relentless.
Yes.
And she responded positively when I called her, but I always felt she had that little bit of control that I couldn't get back. And the next time the situation arose like that, I decided to give it a set of rules that I gave myself. And I used the same rule as, like, if I took a girl out for 3 dates, if I didn't sleep with her on the third date, it was over. Because being relentless and wasting my time, you have to decide between the two. Some of them like to test you with it. Like if you get something the first and second date, you can let them play their little game. But I gave them rules. But what I did different than just giving myself a set of rules was I had to give them my rules. They had to know my rules, and I'd mention them at the beginning. That's one of the things I say when I say you've got to give yourself ammunition. I tell them I like the baseball rules, 3 strikes. I give everybody enough rope to hang themselves. And I found that after they were busy twice, I said to them, well, I'll only call you once more. And they were never busy that third time if they wanted to see me.
But don't you find that putting rules and being, what would be perceived as controlling or, dominant or trying to set up rules for women beforehand, doesn't that scare attractive women away?
It scares manipulative women away. It scares women because the ones who get scared away know that they have to manipulate you. I found that out also, but that's like, I gave those rules to myself, not so much to control the women, but it's turned into it does control them better that way too, and I do like to control them.
But I guess where I was going with this is that it actually is an attractive thing when you're strong in the beginning.
I think so, yes. And not only that, you have to realize something is when you start realizing that you are the wanted commodity. I don't know how better to word that.
Yeah.
You have more women after you than women have men in reality. When you find out that what you have to offer is more important than what they have to give, and you realize that you don't want to waste your precious time anymore. Look, I've seen so many guys. I was just talking to one fellow in the Montreal Lair, and this was so interesting. He told me he went out with this girl last year, and he was having a good time with her, but then they broke up. And then he went out with her for 2 dates, and he had a fabulous second date. So I said, what did you do this fabulous second date? And he's telling me this, and he went there, and he went here, and they did this. And I go, and I look at him, I go, did you sleep with her? He goes, no. I go, last year when you went out with her completely, did you sleep with her? He goes, no. This year when you started seeing her again, did you sleep with her? She goes, no. I say, she's, you're going out with her for like 1.5 years, and you haven't slept with her yet? You think every day she's going to let you sleep with her? He goes, yeah. I go, see, there, let you sleep with her. It came out, you realized it was, yeah. It was, your answer was, yeah. She'll let me sleep with her. Out of, we don't have 1,000 years. We don't have 100 years. Most of us, if we make 70, we're doing well. And you didn't start fucking till you were 20, the average guy. Maybe some a little luckier, yeah, like me, started a little earlier, and some keep going a little longer. But you don't have that many years, and if you're going to waste 1.5 years out of probably a 25 or 30-year window of fucking, what are you wasting your time for? 1.5 years seems like it's got to be like close to 25% of all the time you have. Especially if you've been wasting years and years, 1.5 years on a woman that you haven't got to stage one with. What did you need her as a friend? No. Well, I said, do you pay for her? He goes, yeah. So I think this woman is using him.
Well, women, I believe, can pick up and read men 100,000 times better than men can read women.
I have to agree with you 100%.
And
not 90, not 99, 100%. And I think, like I'll tell you, this woman that was doing this to this fella knew exactly what she was doing from the get-go.
Oh yeah, and she actually believed the same thing, that if they ever do sleep together, that she's letting him.
Oh, she's waiting to give him that gift, that fabulous gift. And I'll tell you something. If you think it's that much of a gift, there's a reason why guys are always accused of, after they're sexually satisfied, rolling over and going to sleep. The reason for that is because they don't want to hear him talking anymore.
Oh, that's funny.
Because they ordered him around for so many years.
Yeah.
The reality is, if listen, here we go. in the animal community, I bring it back to the animal is the most beautiful species of the animal to the female.
Yeah.
The lion is a perfect example. The peacock. They're the better looking of the two male and female species.
Sure.
And the same thing is with men and women. Clifford sent me a bunch of these pictures of these girls that, as I don't know if he emailed it to you too, that got that what they looked like before they did a bunch of makeup.
Oh, right. Yeah, I saw that.
You saw that. And it's so true. I mean, men don't spend 3 and 4 and 5 hours to make themselves look passable. I don't know that many guys that put makeup on or eyeliner.
No.
Or go and get a complete or spend 20 hours in a salon. I don't know any guy that does that. They've got to do a lot of stuff to make themselves look beautiful. They're doing it for what?
As you said, presentable.
Exactly.
Just to get to the point where they can walk out the door.
Exactly. I mean, if you see, there'd be a lot less women on the market if you saw them before they put the makeup on.
Yeah, it is. It's a good good exercise to go look at some of those books that have the before and after pictures of the makeup.
Oh,
so that you know what you're really dealing with.
Not only that, I mean, there's 1,000 jokes as you get older. You'll notice them of what happens when the man wakes up and the woman took her makeup off in the bed beside him. You know?
Yeah.
A lot of women don't want men sleeping over because they don't want the men to see what they look like in the morning.
Exactly. Well, you know, you mentioned another thing that triggered something for me. 2 different issues. One is you talked about buying dinner for a woman. And, you know, it's a big topic of conversation among men. Who pays? Should I pay? Should she pay? So forth. And I usually recommend to guys, I say, well, you know what? At the beginning, don't go do anything that you have to pay for. You know, meet for a cup of tea or go somewhere just so that you don't even have to deal with the issue. Because if you don't know how, you might as well just try to avoid it so it doesn't create more problem. But when you do get into it, if you do want to go to dinner, that there's a way to pay that doesn't suggest that she owns you or that you're trying to buy her approval. And there's a way to pay that says that she does own you and you're trying to buy her approval. There are 2 ways to
you can always do, which I try to drop into a joke when I first meet him. I said, I take you to dinner, but then you'd have to sleep with me. If you want to make it easy. So if we go Dutch, you got your own choice.
Oh, what a great way of bringing up a gender stereotype, huh?
Yeah. And it gives them the choice.
You're not kidding. Oh, that's funny.
So I give them choices like that rather than say, you see, I never really say, can I take you out for dinner? I'll sort of give them the choice. Listen, I take you out for dinner, but if I paid for you, you have to sleep with me. So if we go Dutch, you got the choice at the end of the night. But so do I.
Oh, that's interesting. You know, another thing I found it's very important to do is, you know, you mentioned earlier that you're the one that's bringing the gift, truly. That it's important to communicate to women in the beginning of the relationship, as soon as you meet them, as early on as possible, that you don't see what they have as some type of prize.
100%. That's why I say you have to talk to them. You have to. I laid them. You know, a lot of guys say you spend so much time talking with them first, and when I start talking to them, if I see that they're getting antsy, I bring back what I've heard women say about men, and that's, I like to communicate. I'd like you to know exactly what I'm thinking about. That opens up the field that they always bring into a relationship. Communication. You never say what you really think. You never say what you feel. All these kind of things, or all of the above. I mean, I've heard guys say she said everything to me. I don't communicate. I don't listen to her. I take her for granted. You can get them either one or all, and it's a standard kind of thing. When you say, "Hey, let's communicate. I'd like you to know I don't want to be one of these guys you're going to use. I don't want to buy you food just for the sake of it. You want to spend some time together. You want to get to know me. That's what's important. Who pays for dinner? You should show me how well you cook. Bring it all the time into it.
And I found that just like when a woman tests a man, most men, they just try and jump through all the hoops to be more and more impressive.
That I'm usually testing them way before. I don't. You see, maybe that's my aggressiveness or relentlessness. I'm on them all the time. They're not attacking. They're defending.
If you turn the game around and you're testing them, a lot of guys are afraid to do that because they think it won't be attractive to women. But on the contrary, of course,
you see that's it exactly. A lot of guys are thinking, what are they going to think if I do that?
Mm-hmm.
I like to find out I'll find out soon enough, because you find women will open their mouth real quick.
So you mentioned earlier that you like to have a lot of ammunition.
Yeah.
You're always collecting ammunition.
I ask them a lot of questions.
And like what? And what do you? Why are you asking the questions?
I get to know the terrain. It's like any maneuver. You got to know the terrain. There's always in the army, there's always guys who go out to map the area. The guys going out on point to report back what the terrain is like. We're lucky. There's plenty of guys on point already out there. So now we just have to find out the terrain. We have to get the logistics. They're all the same. Women are all the same. Men are all the same. Let's say that's a good answer. But they're in different areas. So you got to find out the area you want, and you got to find out if you want to be with this person. What do you do? Who do you live with? Do you live alone? Were you married? Did you have children? Do you like children? Not that you want to have children to get married, but you want to know if she likes children. Maybe you're a guy that eventually wants to have kids, and maybe you saw her in the light that that's a perfect woman. I think I'd like to have a wife like that. And she says, "No, I hate kids." Or I went out with I'll tell you, I went out with a girl one time. We were going out for about 6 months, and this was the pre-days where you used to wear condoms, And I say to her, I don't want to get you pregnant. She goes, "Oh, no, I've had myself fixed." I go, "Really? You don't want to have kids?" She goes, "No, I'm a party girl. I like to party." And then I started to get worried. Okay, this is a girl I can't have a serious relationship, because she'd rather fix herself and make sure she doesn't have children and party all the time. 80% of the time when I look at a woman, it's what turns me on about her. And what really turns me on about her, I will convey that message immediately to her. I mean, if it's the shape in her dress, like I remember one time a woman she just had a fantastic shape to her. She was wearing this black dress, and I said to her, "You're not 36, 22, 36, but I like the way you look better." She says, "How do you know I'm not 36, 22, 36? So I said, "I'm very good with numbers and figures. Can I work on your figure?" And that started a fantastic relationship, because she knew exactly what I was interested in. She wore that black dress, and she must have prepared herself for guys to look at her, and I was the only guy that commented on what she must have spent hours doing. Now,
you have any other examples?
Sure. I like the woman's voice. I was listening to these girls, and their back was to me, and her voice, she sounded exotic. So I looked at her, and she has a very attractive face, but I couldn't see her body. And I'm more on the body than the attractive face. And I always like the it's not the face you fuck, it's the fuck you face kind of theory.
Okay.
So when I looked at her, I says, "You got a gourd, and I love your voice." She stood up in front of me on purpose. What was she telling me?
It was the invitation.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't need, I don't need to be bumped on the head to get the invitation. A lot of guys would have. She stood up, wouldn't have real. Why is she standing up? But she stood up to show me her body. Already, I was the. What do you call that when
Well, your approach is subtle and classy, but it's very direct at the same time.
Very direct. It's like when these women go to these haute couture places, and they try on dresses. They bring out the models trying out dresses in front of them, and the one they approve of. I mean, they buy. I mean, it's the same thing that I feel that they're doing for me, and I feel so honored.
Right.
Sometimes I tell them, I says, coming into this club, it's a real tough choice. I had to look around, and then I said, oh, you know what? I'm going to start at the top with the most gorgeous woman, and then if she didn't give me any time, I'd go to the next gorgeous woman. And I'd say, you know what? I figured I'd hit the second most gorgeous woman first, so I'd hit the most gorgeous woman second.
Interesting. So you're very direct about this, huh?
Very direct.
You start off by talking to a woman about the thing about her that turns you on.
And that's a subject that I can relate to.
You don't find that women get offended at that?
You know what? I've never found that. I found the more direct I am, the more interested they are. And the more they hang around to get the compliments, to get the looks. I mean, I definitely believe that a guy paints a painting for people to look at it. Nobody paints a painting to put in their closet. Women stand there in front of that mirror painting themselves up for hours. Can I say that there's a difference between a piece of art that way or a piece of art the other way? If you've looked at those pictures that Clifford sent you, some of those women really did a piece of art on themselves.
Oh, yeah. It's astounding.
And that's what I'm saying. These girls go out. They know if they have 4 split ends. They know what split ends are. I never knew what split ends are.
Yeah.
I never cared. You got split ends on your hair. Does that make you don't fuck as well? No. Oh, who cares? Is split ends going to bother me while we're sleeping? Is it going to bother me while we're making love? No. I mean, I don't know what split ends are. I went out with a girl that tattooed like eyeliner onto her eye so she wouldn't have to put eyeliner on every day. So after I was going out with her for a while, I looked at her when I saw her. I says, it doesn't look like you have eyeliner on, but that black line is perfect. She says, yeah. And she smiles. And then after I was going out with her for a while, I says, why did you do that? She goes, oh, she says she had to do so much stuff in the morning before she went to work that if she did stuff like this, it would save so much time. Just imagine.
What's the difference between the way you approach women and with compliments and talking to them about the things they've spent time on and a typical guy, what 80% of guys do when they see a really attractive woman is they'll start with something like, wow, you're really beautiful, or wow, I probably wouldn't have a chance with a girl like you, right? You're so attractive.
If they'd say that, I think they'd be more successful. But usually what they try to pretend is they didn't notice how good looking they were or how nice their boobs are or how nice their body was. They're going over there because they're going to help her in her spelling bee.
They're trying to fake like they just want to be friends, huh?
Yeah, I mean, hello. What is it? A good-looking girl gets 20 heads turned, and then when she looks back, all the guys pretend they didn't look at her. I mean, something's wrong with that. It's like relate to when you go into a museum or you go to a show or you go to a play. These actors, they want you to look at them. People put stuff in a museum for you to look at. They put paintings on the walls for you to admire. They do it.
So how important do you think like body language and voice tone and eye contact and these things are when you first start talking to a woman?
Very
as
important.
You develop?
Very important, because it gives me the body language helps me make my job easier, makes me know when I'm going to be successful and when I'm not wasting my time. Because one thing, although I will spend as much time as I think. As an example, I took out one of my students in New York, and he was amazed that I spent 2.5 hours talking to a girl in a coffee shop. Take my number down and call me the next day. only because I spent so much time talking to her. And he says, how come you spent so much? I would have gone a long time earlier. I said, I knew she was interested, but she just needed to feel more confident with me. That's the body language you have to feel out. But I'd say that it comes with being at ease in the conversation. The more the conversation feels at ease, and what you have to ask yourself while you're talking to somebody is, how comfortable do I feel? More or less? If it's less, end the conversation, go someplace else. If it's more, continue. It's a very simple gauge. Because the more comfortable you feel, the more relaxed you get, and the more good time you can have. And that doesn't even need a set of rules. You don't have to write that on your wrist.
Yeah, I recommend to guys to, if they get nervous around women and so forth, is to practice making fun and teasing a woman that they never would have teased, and literally trying to pretend that you're with a friend or a family member almost, just to learn to get over that self-consciousness and to realize that you're dealing with another person first and foremost.
Exactly.
And then once you get to that level where you can, do those kinds of things, then it starts to matter less and less, because like you said, when you're comfortable, your body language conveys that. And when you're nervous, your body language conveys that too. And if a woman thinks that she's making you nervous and getting you all uptight, she's going to tend to be a lot less attracted to you.
Right.
So what kinds of topics do you talk about? What do you do for dates? Where do you go? What do you talk about? What's your process there?
Well, I find out, you see, with all the questions I've asked her, what she does on her hobbies, what did she do for vacation last year, I try to get everything from, I start with how many people in her family, how well does she get along with her siblings, how well does she get along with her parents. It tells me a lot if she's family oriented.
These are all the questions that most women ask.
Exactly. Ask her, do you like to talk about your work? Do you like your work? What's your favorite fruit? What's your favorite food? After I ask, and she asks me, why are you asking these questions, I always come back and says, if I hope to have any kind of relationship with you, I got to get to know you. I usually don't find them asking me why you're asking these questions. I think they want conversation too. And if I'm getting nervous, if they're that good looking and I'm getting nervous, I usually will break into something like, help me out here, calm me down, give me a hug or a kiss.
That's great.
So I'll let them, you see, getting nervous is not a bad thing as long as you've got the control of it and able to say to her, I'm getting nervous, you're making me nervous, look at this. See, if for some reason or other a girl was making me so intimidated that I would really be nervous, I would say, I'm so intimidated and you're getting me so nervous. And I would tell her. Because she wouldn't believe it once I told it to her. That's my defense.
Exactly.
And showing vulnerability is not bad. See, I'll tell women right away when we start talking to them, I go, women are stronger than men. Emotionally, much stronger. Men have too fragile an ego. I'll tell her I know what she knows. See, because every woman knows a guy's going to prove that he's so macho, but men do have a more fragile ego than women. See, it's like, I forget who mentioned this to me. I think it was Clifford, but he said that even ugly girls can get any guy they want.
That's the truth.
But ugly guys don't think they can get any girl they want. And women aren't as impressed with looks as men are. I think that's because most men are better looking than most women. But they're not as impressed.
Yeah, it's just that we don't know it because us guys don't put on so much makeup and
not only that, we're always trying to figure out what they're thinking rather than what's really reality.
Interesting. So, what do you do next? You're out. You meet a girl. Maybe you're talking to her. You go out with her. How do you? What do you do to set up the next get together? Do you ask for a phone number?
Well, like I said, I've asked a lot of questions. Like, Are you spontaneous? Do you like to take chances? Do you like to go with your intuition, gut feeling, whatever you call it? Do you have a good gut feeling about us? If she says no, then I go, well, you must be right. I'll better leave and see what happens after that.
Mm.
And
Interesting.
I tell them, listen, if you don't feel comfortable with me, I pride myself on being a gentleman, and I will remove myself from your sight immediately. I don't want to seduce them. I don't want to push myself on them.
And then what do you do to take things to a more physical level with a woman?
Well, that's where it comes in, a lot of the body language. I'm a very physical kind of guy. When I'm with a woman, I usually like to touch them. Now, I do touch them in such a way that they can never really feel that I'm being a lech, or I'm being disrespectful, or I'm pawing them. I try to touch them and hold them as if I was a knight. Very making them feel like a princess. The way I hold their hand, the way I shake their hand when I first meet them, it's more like you would do I don't shake it like I shake a man's hand. And I hold them by the arm, or I look at their face and I ask them to I put my hand on their chin. I usually, in the conversation at the beginning, I said, I'd like to see your profile. And I turn their face, putting my hand on their face. Once I've started touching their body, I have my hand on their face, my hand on their forearm. I might be holding their wrist instead of their hand. I might be touching them a few times before I start talking physically about them. I'll mention, I says, I like the way your skin feels. I want them to know that they know that I've touched them. I want them to feel comfortable with my hands on them.
And so what body language are you looking for as a go-ahead to maybe kiss them or do more?
Well, I never ask them for a kiss. I never ask them for anything. I either give them a kiss, depending, it's exactly like you say, it's the body language. If I really, I'll look at her lips, let's say, and I say, I got to tell you something. Those are the most incredible looking lips. If you could kiss as well as your lips say you can kiss, I'd be so impressed. It's a challenge. Give them a little challenge. You'll find out right away there, oh no, I don't kiss the first date. Oh, you have a set of rules. I'm waiting for the first rule stigma to come out. The first game. As soon as I get that, I go, okay, can I get all the rules at one time so I don't have to guess?
So you're always looking for the first rule.
First rule. What's your first rule? But I thought you said you're spontaneous. See, I'll bring out the spontaneous at the beginning. Are you? And I ask, what kind of character are you? And that's what you ask when you meet somebody. What kind of character are you? What's your sign? Or are you really a true zebra, Libra, Libra? It doesn't make a difference.
Sure.
You follow that. I don't follow it. And I tell them my sign. They go, yeah, you're most... I go, yeah, really? I says, I don't know. I find there's conflicting reports on that. But the people I've spoken to might not have known what they were talking about. That's the way I answer that. And I let them follow and fill me in. Oh, you believe that? No kidding. Do you have a set of rules when you meet a guy? How many dates you go out before you sleep with him? Before you kiss him? Before you introduce your parents? Before you cook for him? What's your rules? Oh, I don't have any. You're spontaneous? Yeah, okay. Then I might say, do I have something in my eye over here? Can you see that in the corner there? And she'll get real close, and then I'll just give her a quick kiss. And I'll see her reaction. Yes. I will entrap them. I'll do anything without... I won't ask them for it, depending what their body language is and how they've answered.
How charming. How important do you think that chivalry and being a gentleman and being charming, how important do you think these things are?
It's very important to me because I don't ever want to, and especially, and I didn't plan this with what I'm doing today for the last 40 years. I didn't plan this that maybe I'll bump into women or they'll see me on some newscast or some ad. Oh, that guy did that to me,
Yeah.
When I leave a woman, they can only say he was a gentleman. It's like I had a woman once come up to me and said, I heard all about you. Now, once you've been accused of something, it's very hard. You're going to start denying it. You become on the defensive. So how I answer a question like that, I goes, yeah, everything you heard is probably true. It extinguishes all the kind of attacks she was going to make on me.
No insecurity demonstrated, huh?
No, it's true. You think I'm a bad person? It's probably true. I mean, I couldn't have been that good to every woman. I say that, I really mean it. If I'm going to have a relationship with them, I want them to think of me as what I want them to. I want them to think of me as chivalrous, independent, strong, with a great sense of humor, knowing where I'm going. That's what a woman. The strength doesn't mean how many pounds you can pick up. It means not being able to be intimidated by her. Because still, a woman wants a man to lead her, to be beside her, to feel secure with her. They all say they want to feel secure with a man. They want the strength.
Now, what about looks? A lot of men get all uptight and they say, oh, I'm not that good looking or what have you. Can you describe yourself?
Well, I'm 5'8".
Mm-hmm.
I'm overweight today. And I've been like husky most of my life. I wouldn't say overweight, but I was just always big.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I never really thought of what I look like to any kind of importance, because when I start talking to them, if they're interested, they're interested. If they're not interested, I'll find out real quick. I mean, there's definitely... I met a woman once and we were talking for a while, and she says, I'd like to be friends with you. And I said, what kind of friends do you want to be? Do you sleep with your friends? She goes, no. So I said, I'm not interested. I don't need any more women friends. And she says, well, it's just that you don't turn me on. I go, well, that's fine. You better look for a guy that turns you on. If that's what's more important to you and that's what's important, you go for it. And I just completely ended the relationship right then and there. She wanted to still, well, we could go out together, and when you don't have anybody to go to an affair with, I go, I'm not worrying. I'm not thinking of that far in the future. I don't think, from what I found in my lifetime so far, I don't think looks are that important to women as men think. Yeah, the younger ones, sure. Listen, the women, their top choice is multi-gazillionaires, and the next are all rock stars.
Yeah.
After that, we're all the same. The ones that are going after rock stars won't go after me and you, Evan, no matter of that far in the future. I don't think, from what I found in my lifetime so far, I don't think looks are that important to women as men think. Yeah, the younger ones, sure. Listen, the women, their top choice is multi-gazillionaires, and the next are all rock stars.
Yeah.
After that, we're all the same. The ones that are going after rock stars won't go after me and you, no matter what.
Well, the funny thing is, the reason why I had you bring that up is because most guys are average. That's what, average is, and not far from it. And I wanted you to describe yourself because I wanted everyone to realize that you're not, 6'4" and a bodybuilder or anything. You're, 5'8" and overweight. And if somebody could see you right now, they wouldn't say, "Oh, now there's the guy. He looks like Brad Pitt," and so forth. That it is possible to be just a regular guy out there and have above average success with women.
It's like the funny thing is you say that it's because the guys that are really these built hunks.
Yeah.
Now, especially all you guys living in California, know that most of these guys are gay. That's the funny thing. And if you ask women, a lot of women don't go after these pretty boys because they know they're gay.
Yep.
And they feel it right away quicker. Like a lot of these, like look. Here's a perfect example. Rock Hudson, in my generation, I thought he would get every single woman he'd ever go near. When I found out he was gay, it was like a betrayal. Here I looked at him as like what you were just saying, these Brad Pitt kind of guys that like if you tell me Bogart was gay, I'd get in a little depression for a while.
Yeah.
That's what we all looked at that Paul Newman and when I was growing up, Paul Newman and Rock Hudson and Cary Grant, and we all looked at these guys who were our role models, what Hollywood portrayed. But that's not the reality. That's the reality on film. And women don't want those guys. A smart woman doesn't want a pretty boy because she wants to feel secure in the relationship.
What is it that causes women to feel that powerful emotion, that attraction to a man? What triggers that?
Well, I would say that I can only repeat what I've heard, and I really do believe this. That when all these Cosmo magazines, when you see all these interviews or polls that they take on what the most important things to women are, the first one, which is really incredible, is always sense of humor.
Yep.
Now, if sense of humor, which is, you got to have a good sense of humor. You want a woman with a good sense of humor, but if sense of humor comes first, because I've asked guys what they'd like in a woman, and a lot of guys will go, big boobs, I'm a thigh man, I like blonde hair. But women will always say sense of humor. When they start on the fact, when you ask a woman, and it's a good thing, that should become part of your repertoire when you're meeting them. What kind of guy are you looking for? Oh, she says tall, gotta be 6'2" or higher. I don't believe you get a woman that's gonna say that to you. Oh, I want a guy who knows where he's going. I want a guy who can communicate. I want a guy who's got a good sense of humor. I want a guy who's strong, makes me feel secure. I want to feel safe with a guy.
So women describe qualities.
Exactly, because the exterior package is irrelevant. Because most women realize, because of what they do to themselves every day in the mirror before they go out, that looks is all a lie. Look, you meet a woman that is fantastic in bed with, and you see this gorgeous girl that turns you on, and you sleep with her, and you say, well, the other one's much better in bed, and you enjoy her more. Why would you be with this good-looking one? Mm-hmm. Just because she's better looking? I went out with an incredibly attractive woman. She was one of these, what do you call them, pageant winners. She was the best-looking girl in the area that I took her out, and she was number one. And I tell you something, it made me feel great when my friends used to look at her and go, stand there with their tongues out. And then the funniest story is that her sister went after me. And I found out that her sister used to go after all the guys she used to go out with because there was a jealousy factor in there. And when I slept with her sister, I dumped her to go after her sister because her sister was much better in bed. And I enjoyed being with her sister more. After making all my friends jealous, the reality's still there. I don't feel as good with her as I do with a girl that's not as good looking. Looks are very fleeting. It's good for a short term. It's good if you want to impress people, if you want to have this model around your arm, if you want to show off. It depends what you're looking for. It's nice to go out with these blondes, have them for a nightstand, and then go on further. My forte was getting a stable together and managing my own harem.
So getting a stable of how many women?
I found that the reality was I had 4, and always one was like I was always hunting for another one. At times I had 5, but it was steady, usually 4.
4 to 5 women you're seeing consistently.
Consistently.
So you could only see these women once or twice a week.
In a good relationship, you can only see a woman once or twice a week.
And they were satisfied with that.
I don't know if they were satisfied because
they always wanted more, though.
They all do want more eventually, and you have to weed out. But after you're seeing somebody for a period of, let's say, 6 to 8 months, you'll find that a lot of relationships fall apart way before that, and when they start demanding more time. And I would come back with, I like to spend quality time, not quantity time. So we get together, I like to do something really good. And I would have a lot of good relationships, and the ones that were giving me a hard time, and I had a lot to compare to. I wouldn't stand for a lot of stuff, and it made me stronger with the ones I was with. It was a corkscrew to what I ended up with. When I met my current wife, she was the 5th one coming in.
Yeah, it's interesting what a different perspective you have when you're dating several women than when you're not.
Oh,
a lot of guys, they say to me, oh, I've got this girl and I really like her and I don't know how she feels about me and she's, being difficult and this and that. And my immediate advice is, well, go start dating some more women immediately.
100%.
Get out there and get more dates and then see how you feel about it. And, it's interesting. My good friend of mine works with a guy who's a marriage counselor who's been a marriage counselor for like 40 years. And interestingly enough, when someone's spouse leaves them, he immediately advises them to start dating other people. If they want to get their spouse back, one of his first pieces of advice is start dating other people. Because it gives you a new perspective. It makes you less needy. It shows that you're desirable to you and to the other person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Look, a lot of women threaten to leave, and what it does is manipulate the men. They feel guilty. They're hit by fear.
Yeah. So, are there any other things you think are important to do when you're alone with a woman once you finally get to that stage where it's time to get physical?
Well, definitely. I usually tell them I got Roman hands and Russian fingers.
And of course, they're going to say, "What does that mean?"
Yeah, I'll show them. I like to start with the stupidest games first, like red light, green light.
Yeah.
Or I tell them, put your hand here on my chest for a second. And there's never a woman's going to say no. So when they do that, I usually go, now it's my turn. See, I try to equalize everything. Like I said, I play the silliest kids games. Like when I used to play that when I was a real kid, like when you play spin the bottle.
Yeah.
If like I'm having trouble, if I wanted to kiss her and she's pulled away, I go, let's play spin the bottle. I'll try to minimize her fear. I'll give it to her, like, I won't say, oh, you're being stupid, oh, you don't like me. I'll just go like, let's see if I can do some silly things to get you to kiss me. Or like I'll go, look at my eye, do I have something in my eye? I'll try all the silliest things. I'll go, look at the rocket ship out the window. And when she looks, I'll go, made you look.
Really flirting and teasing her and making
all
it
the
fun.
time.
And making it fun, yeah.
Oh, yeah, making it fun. They want a sense of humor and they want to have fun, but they want to be taken. I definitely believe every woman wants to be taken. Goes back to caveman. You never heard a caveman beg.
What's the difference between being taken and forcing yourself on a woman?
There's a big difference. I found that good scenario if you're helping her put on her coat, like you're going out or you're going to give her a lift home or you finished eating in a restaurant, help her put on her coat. You're behind her, and then put your hands on her shoulders and pull her back to you and give her a little kiss on the neck. Women love to be kissed or taken from behind. It's all their fantasies and all the romance novels. The guys always, and if you look at the pictures, guys always holding them from like behind.
Interesting perspective. Well, I'll tell you what, David. This has been fantastic. Learned some interesting things. I know that you have a program, that you do programs, and you also do consulting.
Definitely.
We've only scratched the surface here. I mean, we've been talking for an hour and a half. What is your program? How long is it? What does it include?
Well, I run a couple of seminars similar to yours, just different format, and I give a little different information out.
Sure.
They can contact us at berelentless.com.
Okay.
Or I can be called anytime at area code 514-935-7894.
And you also do personal consulting.
Definitely.
You do phone and in person.
Yes.
And so
I need to find out the basic problems a person's having, and I need to find out their scenarios. And like the similar questions I ask women, I ask the fellows that are calling me to get the ground rules, and then gives them a kind of idea when they, after they call me, the kind of questions I ask. And then I start telling them about themselves, and they go, "Oh, you're a mind reader." I go, "No, I asked you all the questions. I just correlated the information properly."
I've read some feedback and heard some really good feedback from some of the guys that have had consulting with you and so forth, that you really know how to zero in and so forth. And one of the things that is nice is I don't do that kind of stuff, and you do. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to get this mix happening here. So we got a berelentless.com. Is that BE and then relentless, or is there a dash in there?
I think there's a dash in there.
Okay, so
BE-relentless.com, or they can reach me at David at berelentless.com is my email address.
Okay, David at b-relentless.com is your email, and your phone number again?
514-935-7894.
Excellent. Well, thanks for your time, David. Very enjoyable.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.